Everybody got advice, ain't really work for me. Tell me go see a therapist, it ain't work for me. Tried to put me on the meds, didn't know the hurt for me. Drown myself in a drink, didn't quench the thirst for me. Everything that was telling me to become ain't really.
Welcome back to the Mentally Shredded Show. I'm your host, Christopher Whedon, and today we have a special guest with us, Hannah Bookbinder. She is an academic coach and founder of Academic Ally, where she supports students with ADHD, anxiety, and learning differences. She's also the creator of the MyTOAD app, which we will definitely be diving into. This tool is designed to help users strengthen executive functioning skills like time management, organization, and focus. Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's great to be here.
Yes. So let's start by talking about your personal journey. What led you to the work that you do today? And with that, let's talk about the importance of the neurodivergent learners that you focus on as well.
So I got into the world of ADHD quite by accident. I had intended on being a therapist to like the general population. But I was introduced to my first ADHD student back in the late 90s and just absolutely fell in love with it. I got trained in the field, and I really loved the fact that I could be their coach in the corner of the boxing ring. And there was this intimacy and this ability to connect with them in a way that a lot of adults cannot. I wasn't taking away car keys or making any negative consequences for choices that they were making. And I was able to be the go-between between themselves and their parents, or the teachers and the parents, or everybody together to kind of make this cohesive team that would then support the individual. And that has since then extended out into working with adults of all ages. So whether they themselves are students, or they're making that transition back into the workforce, or they're just, they're a stay-at-home parent and just getting one foot in front of the other to manage all of those pieces, they come to me to get that kind of support and those strategies and tools. And what's unique about and what's important about this population is that many of them are so creative and so witty when it comes to their sense of humor. A lot of people who have ADHD are mislabeled and misunderstood as being lazy or stupid, and that's really not the case. And if they're just given the right tools to be able to succeed, then they can take off and be successful.
Wow. I love this. So did you have a personal story and tied to ADHD that drew you to this population, or was it just something that came up when you started your professional career?
I just like helping people. I mean, that's who I've been my entire life. And I really, that the rawness that comes with ADHD really resonated with me, because I think at the end of the day, we all experience our own vulnerabilities, and to be able to be that person's person, if you will, is such a powerful experience. And it's such a privilege to be able to walk side by side with this person, to see them from point A, where it seems like their whole world is imploding, and no matter how hard they try, they just can't gain any traction, to point Z, where they've gone through the entire alphabet and met all these milestones, and now they're, standing on their own 2 feet, and they're reaching all of their goals that they set out to do.
So let's talk about ADHD, because this is a topic of conversation that during the pandemic really took off. A lot of people on social media self-diagnose, right? So break down what ADHD is and how we can identify that.
So ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disorder, and it frequently starts in childhood. And what's interesting is that because we've gotten so good at diagnosing ADHD, a lot of adults now are being diagnosed with it. And they're sort of having this aha moment of like, oh, well, it makes sense that I wasn't able to sit still, or it makes sense that I was shouting out in class, or whatever their symptoms were. But those are some of the symptoms that you'll see in people who have it. They cannot focus their attention. They are disorganized. You can follow the trail of things behind them and know exactly where they were. They have difficulty on follow through, and those are just some of the challenges that they have. And the best way to confirm diagnosis is to meet with a psychologist who can properly assess them and test them. And then from there, it's important for them to get proper treatment. And unfortunately, we have this belief that there is this magic pill that you can take and then everything goes away. And yes, there is medicine that works. I myself am not a pill pusher. It's not my area of expertise. I fully acknowledge that medication has been and is helpful for a lot of people who have ADHD. And on the other hand, no matter what course of treatment you take, whether it's with or without medication, you have to make some changes from a behavioral standpoint in order to kind of train your brain and be able to reach your goals. So if you're going to take medication, that's great, but also understand that it's important for you to work with either a therapist or a coach, somebody who has the experience to teach you the tools and strategies and the mentality, quite honestly, to be able to get what it is that you want to get done.
Have you seen a correlation between athletes who have ADHD and the everyday individual? As somebody that played sports at a very high level, I know what my parents were told when I was very young. He's very hyperactive. He can't focus. And my grandparents just put me in sports. And so,
That was a smart move.
so I'm curious if there's a correlation there, or if it was just the discipline of going to a private school early on that helped me as I got older.
Can you clarify your question just so I understand what you're asking?
Yes. So with athletes, there's a lot of discipline, right? You have to show up, and there's situational awareness that you really have to focus in order to produce the best product. So is there a correlation between high performing either athletes or creatives that help them even though they have ADHD?
Yes, and it's in part because they do have ADHD that they are so successful in their arena, if you will. With, as you pointed out, with being an athlete at any level, you have to be able to focus. And interestingly, people who have ADHD have the capability to hyperfocus. So sports is the perfect field, arena, whatever it is, court that that you can choose to kind of hone your skills as somebody who has ADHD, who's capable of hyperfocusing. As far as the levels of creativity are concerned, people who have ADHD, a lot of them are very good at problem solving outside of the box. So, how do you outsmart your opponent on the field or the court? How do you strategize for the next, series of steps that you're going to take to defeat the other team? So yes, there are some benefits to having ADHD when it comes to being an athlete, being an artist, a musician. All of those fields and areas play to the strengths of somebody who has a neurodivergent mind.
That question came to me, obviously, from a personal place.
Sure.
And I wanted to empower anybody that has ADHD that may listen to this and say, well, I have this, so I'm not able to accomplish X, right? Removing that barrier, because the professional just shared, hey, this actually could be a win for you. It actually could set you up for success if you allow it to.
100%. There is no reason why ADHD can't be an actual tool or an asset to help you accomplish what it is that you want to do, no matter what your, profession or area of interest may be. It's just being able to harness those strengths and then execute them appropriately.
So that leads me to, how do you specifically help students? Because you've worked with students for over 2 decades, if I'm not mistaken. And so how are you helping students who need to overcome the feelings of being overwhelmed, and wanting to take control over their lives, and especially with ADHD?
So the first thing that I do is to establish rapport and a relationship with them, because you have to have trust with me in order to be able to believe that we can partner together to accomplish what you're setting out to do. So, and part of doing that is to help the individual to recognize what are the strengths that they bring to the table, because I believe that everybody has something that they bring to the table. So whether it's your sense of humor, or it's your compassion, or you're really good at this sport or this activity, there is something that you are bringing to the situation that we can then build upon. And then we establish what the goals are. It could be something that is academic in nature. It could be something that, they want to be a better student athlete. So being able to combine and balance those two worlds out, because they're each very demanding in their own right. So imagine, as you, I'm sure, know, Chris, from your own personal experience, blending those two together is something that's very difficult to accomplish, particularly if you're neurodivergent. So, we identify the goals, and then we talk about what are some of the obstacles that are going to get in the way. Maybe they're really disorganized and they just are shoving their things into their backpack and there's no system. Well, let's come up with a system that's user friendly, because it doesn't make any sense for me to say, here's a folder, kid, just put your things in here, and I don't get any, buy-in or feedback from them. I have to have that buy-in if we're going to be successful together. So from that point forward, if it's appropriate, we will weave the parents in and help them to collaborate and help them to figure out how to strike a balance between, on the one hand, supporting their child, but on the other hand, supporting them in a way that's conducive to their child establishing their sense of autonomy and independence. I frequently talk with parents about the importance of being a submarine parent, where you're checking things below the water level, popping up every once in a while when you see that there might be some trouble on the horizon, but then going back down again. And the kids know that we're checking the portals, or that we're talking, in and amongst ourselves. They know that we're paying attention, but we don't have to be in their face. Like, you don't have to Black Hawk or helicopter them to death. And then, having check-ins with that student in between sessions is really important too, because that accountability piece is critical to, first of all, for them to make sure that they are holding themselves accountable, but then also to be held accountable to somebody else, as sort of like the training wheels, teaches them to arrive at their own personal accountability. And we continue this rhythm until we are to the point where they are taking off those training wheels and they're riding on their own. And I do it all within the context of their life, because training them in isolation of what's really going on is not very realistic, and it's not going to be sustainable. So by teaching them firsthand, with the homework, with the workout schedule, with all the responsibilities that they have, then this is like they're doing it in the real world situation. So it's much more likely that they'll be able to continue that.
I love that. And thank you for simplifying that for me. So what I heard was, first and foremost, we have to build trust with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And next, after we build trust, we sit down and we figure out, okay, well, what do you want to accomplish? What area of your life do you want to focus on?
Right.
And we kind of whiteboard that, is what I'm hearing. After that, you're targeting their community. Who are the people around them that have influence over them? Obviously, if they're children, it would be their parents.
Yes.
In most
And
cases.
teachers too, and coaches.
Yes, parents, teachers, coaches. And so bringing those people to the table, and I love, by approaching it like that, you already have buy-in with so many people around them, so where it's easier for them to move forward and take that next step now, opposed to saying, okay, well, we sat down. Um, this is your issue based off of what somebody told me, right? Like
Right.
that's a completely different approach. So I could see why you've been so successful.
Well, thank you. Yeah, if I don't have a partner in the student, then we're not going to get anywhere, and that's true for any of my clients. And so that's why when I am first doing that vetting process with whoever's calling into me, whether it's a colleague who's referring a family or it's the parents, or even sometimes, college students are in particular are really good advocates and they're seeking out my services. I qualify this and say to them, look, is this person going to be buying into this process? Because otherwise it becomes an exercise in futility and frustration for everybody. Not so much me, but the parents are paying a lot of money for this service and the kids are just supposed to be putting their time and energy into this service. And if they're being forced to do it and they're not in the right mindset, it's never going to go anywhere.
Yes, I mean it takes me back to when I've had coaches, mentors, even therapists, right? I'm in the driver's seat. And so when it's done appropriately, those people, my coach, my therapist, whoever it may be, is in the passenger seat. And
Right.
and they're guiding me in the direction that I don't know where I'm going. So very similar to my GPS, right? And so that's what I've taken away from the people that have come into my life that helped me navigate,
Uh-huh.
opposed to me thinking, okay, well, I'm sitting in the driver's seat and they're kind of just going to do everything for me. No, there's an ownership piece. And so I really appreciate your approach to that.
Yeah, and that's a perfect analogy. I personally use the airplane, but the car is just if not more tangible than the airplane because we're here to point out that there's a pedestrian that's probably going to jump out in front of your car, so you might want to slow down. But you are in the driver's seat, and I think that it's really important to empower the individual. So, because for many people, this is the first time that they're feeling empowered. They've been defeated so many times because time and time again they have been embarrassed in class because the teacher has called them out on their behavior in public. The kids have isolated them and make fun of them. They've lost a lot of friends because of their lack of follow through. So, this is an opportunity for them for the first time for a lot of them to have some semblance of control in their life and knowing that they have this ally who's not going anywhere and come thick or thin. They're going to screw up. And I tell them that every time they make a mistake, it's an opportunity to grow. When it becomes a travesty is when you make the mistake and you don't learn from that mistake and then you are doomed to repeat it again and again and again, then you're wasting your time, your energy, and your money. So yeah, that car analogy is perfect.
So let's talk about the app,
Yes.
the MyTOAD app. So what is the app? What is its main functions and purpose, and how is it different than what's on the market today?
So TOAD stands for time management, organization, accountability, and dialing in. I wanted to create something that was seamless, that was going to promote workflow as opposed to disrupting it. All of these tools are integrated with each other so that you don't have to go out to this app to make your notes. You don't have to go out to this one to schedule it. You don't have to go out to this one to hold you accountable. It's all here in one location in the form of 4 suites of tools, which are the T, O, A, and D. And that's what's different about this app than any other app. There are a lot of amazing tools that are out there in the form of apps, but they don't combine this combination of executive functioning skills. And furthermore, they aren't really built to necessarily, many of them are not built to train the individual to develop these skills, much like you would in a partnership with somebody like me, who's an ADHD coach. So, for example, one of the most comprehensive tools that we have is the task manager within the time management and also within the organization. tools. And what it does is it helps to not only track it serves to not only track your progress with the assignment or the task that you're trying to accomplish. It reminds you, but it reminds you in the sense of it's tied into our 3 reminder system, which is our 3 to be me tool. So that you have, very often we have these starting points. So at 2:30, I'm going to start my homework. But for the neurodivergent mind, that frequently means we got to rev the engine a little bit and we got to get into that mind space of being ready to do that thing at 3:30. So the 3 to be me will remind you to get ready. Then it'll tell you to start. And then it holds you accountable by making sure that you actually started. And you can pick the increments of time throughout which this is taking place. And the task manager also then allows you to advocate for yourself. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, because that's one of the questions that the task manager asks you, and you feel like this is going to be a really big level of difficulty for yourself, really challenging, then the app prompts you to go out to your SOS contacts, which you can incorporate from your phone contacts, or when we are finished with our desktop version of it, from your email contacts. And I can send you a message, Chris, that says, hey, Chris, I'm working on this project, and I just wanted to let you know, because science has shown that if I just let one person know, there's a greater likelihood that I'm going to follow through on that. If, on the other hand, I'm feeling like that touch is not going to be enough, I can say to you, okay, Chris, I'm working on this thing, feeling a little apprehensive. So can you reach back to me later today, like maybe at 3:30, and check in with me and see how I'm doing on that? I don't have to have the user write out any of that stuff. It's already there. It's prefabricated. So much of the app is prefabricated because, again, I want that flow state to continue, and I don't want there to be a disruption, and I don't want there to be difficulty with the initiation of, well, what kinds of words am I supposed to be using, and who should I be doing this with? It's all there for them. So that's what really sets this app apart from the others that are out there.
Does the app have achievements? So obviously you accomplish a task. We know that the brain loves those endorphin hits. And so when you accomplish something and you get that achievement banner, does the app have that integrated in as well?
100%. I am a big fan of celebration. So, for example, going back to the task manager as an example, when you finish your task and it's completed, you get confetti that comes down across the screen. You also get badges, when you've met a certain number of criteria, and there are specific combinations of things that you need to do in order to be the time manager of the week or whatever it is. And then there are also streaks to show you that you have gone into the app and you've, done so many days in a row of just being in the app, or so many days in a row of notifying your SOS contacts. So you're really frequently rewarded for doing what it is that you need to do. Plus, we have the fill in the circle type of reward. It's similar to what other apps have for like working out. So when you utilize one of the tools in the suites, then that circle around the T or the O or the A or the D fill up. And when you hit all 4 of them, again, confetti. So there's lots of rewards and lots of positive reinforcement that are going on in this app.
Oh, wow. Yes, I love this, and I'm going to download this immediately.
Yes, it's right there waiting for you.
So with your students, what is their feedback compared to professionals that have also used this platform?
We have met with a lot of students who wear a lot of hats, and, in the spirit of our conversation for student athletes, they have found it very helpful to strike that balance, because they've said that balance is the hardest thing for them to accomplish. Between all the demands that they have in each of those arenas. Plus, a lot of them are also working in some capacity, like, earning money, or they also have social responsibilities and obligations, or they are the captain of their chess club, or whatever it is that they're doing. These kids are not one-offs. So they're very, very busy, and this app has helped them to not only strike a balance, but to figure out what should be prioritized over what. So, what do I need to be hitting on first and what's least important? But then at the same time, how do I make sure that what's least important carries over to the next day and I can still execute on that? And that's been the biggest amount of, feedback that we've had that they really found value in. And then as a result, they feel really empowered, and that stress and the anxiety that's there has decreased significantly. And that's true for a lot of our student users.
And for professionals, so somebody like myself who's an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
building businesses and traveling, very busy, right? I use my calendar on my phone for everything. If it is not in there, I promise it's not going to get done. So, how will this benefit us as well?
So, what's nice about our master calendar, for example, is that you can integrate your data from other calendars and you can also export it. So, for Canvas, for Outlook, for Apple, and for Google Calendar, those are interactive with each other. We have workspaces. There's a workspace application on the app where you can take an idea and then sort of outline it, or you can further develop it, and then you can export it into a Word doc or a text or an email that you can then start. I don't know about you, Chris, but I start to become all thumbs after a while on my phone, and sometimes I have to sit there and decode what this word actually was supposed to be. But, so you can export it to a larger medium, so then you can start to type it and it becomes more user friendly in that way. We also have a get set timer, which a lot of our beta testers had requested to have a physical representation of time. So they can see the countdown happening with numbers, but at the same time, you can see that ring is circling, is filling up as the time passes. And people who are professional have found that to be valuable because it's helping them to develop their sense of time. Because frequently, a lot of my clients, whether they are adults or students, will either overestimate or underestimate how long a particular task is going to take them. And they're finding that it's very helpful to be trained by this tool in and of itself. And they've also enjoyed the dialing in suite, which has included not only the get set timer, but also the ambient noise. So, and I tried to be as diverse as possible with the sounds because you're not going to satisfy everybody. But we have your white noise. We have noise from a baseball stadium. We have nature. We have music. We even have transportation sound. So there's something in there for everybody. And if people want something more, I'm always taking in advice to make this even more powerful than it already is. So, and I meant to also say to you, Chris, that we have a help center that's built into the app so that if after going through the orientation of the app, they don't understand, still how to use whatever tool, then they can go into our help center and we have videos there that show them, step by step how to use each of the tools. And we do train the trainer. So, we're training teams on how to use it, both for athletic teams, but also professional teams and schools. So we are very accessible. We are very, welcoming of feedback and making sure that this is something that is meeting the needs of our users.
I love that. Before we wrap, I have one final question.
Sure.
I'm curious what your take is. If there's one executive functioning skill that can help people create like lasting change, what would that skill be?
I think that's a tough question. I think that it's this desire to achieve and to accomplish. And I think that it goes beyond the bounds of executive functioning. I think that it's remembering that you are somebody who is capable. Because if you think about it, if you've gotten this far, look at how resilient and resourceful you've been up to this point. So those are two important executive functioning skills. And knowing that there are people out there who are capable and so optimistic and so excited to be helping you, that all you need to do is to build on and capitalize on your resourcefulness and reach out to us, and we'll be there and we'll support you and we'll be there step by step to get you through from where you are right now to where it is that you want to be.
Wow. I love that. Thank you. So as we wrap, where can people go to download the app and where can they go to learn more?
So our website, which is www.mytoadapp.com, is where you'll find out information about our app as well as the book that I wrote for students who have ADHD. And then you can follow us on our socials, which include Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Pinterest, as well as YouTube.
Okay, perfect. So I will make sure to add those links in the description. And as always, if you were able to take anything from this episode, my ask is that you please share it, please like, and please subscribe. We put a new episode out every week, and this is our way to give back. So thank you again for tuning in. Thank you, Hannah, for joining us and sharing knowledge about ADHD, about the platform that you've created to help students, to help entrepreneurs, just anyone who is struggling to figure out time management, organization, focus, which for me, that definitely is it. So,
Well, it's been a privilege to be here. Thank you very much.
absolutely. All right. Until next time, I love y'all. Peace.